Right, we are live. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Kiwi Lads channel. We are just under 24 hours away from the biggest test match of the year, New Zealand taking on South Africa at Eden Park. And this is something a little bit different that we haven't done on the channel before. But the day before, we've got the live preview of this contest. There is going to be back-to-back matches of the Rugby Championship. The Australians hosting the Argentines in match number 1. So due to that, we won't get as long of a build-up as we normally would, so that means that we're doing it tonight alongside the one tomorrow. This is the way that the Rugby Championship table sits just at the moment. New Zealand are in number 1, 11 points differential in their favour, 1 win, 1 loss to the Argentines, but in that second game, they were able to get themselves the 1 bonus point. Now, they could become very significant as we head towards the end of this Rugby Championship competition, definitely with how close these games are anticipated to be between New Zealand and South Africa. Looking through, first of all though, at the starting lineups for these two sides. For New Zealand, they made a few changes compared to what we saw in their second match up against the Argentines. Ethan de Groot, number 1, Cody Taylor 2, and Fletcher Null slots in as the number 3, so no changes there for the ABs, but overall pretty strong up front. Now, de Groot was absent in a couple of the previous games up against the South Africans, so I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do in this game up against Thomas Tatoy. In the locking duo, it will be Scott Barrett as the 4, with Tupavai slotting in at 5, so moving from that number 6 jersey into the locking duo, and one of New Zealand's leading tacklers, as well as the man who has the most lineouts out of anyone in the competition. He is no longer in the side in terms of the starting lineup, instead making his way off the bench. Simon Parker gets his first All Blacks opportunity as a number 6. Artie Savia, the captain, at number 7. Well, the co-captain, as the 7. It is a Centurion match as well, so a big milestone for Artie Savia. Wallace Satiti gets his first start since quite a few injuries in a row here, but I was rewatching last year's Rugby Championship, and Satiti was dangerous when he had his hands on the ball, so hopefully we get to see a little bit of that tomorrow night as well. Finlay Christie gets the opportunity at 9 due to no one else being available. Cam Roigard out, Cortez Ratimer out, Noah Hotham out. They did have Kyle Preston, but he also was almost out, but he is off the bench instead. Finlay Christie on his home turf, partnering with Beauden Barrett, Geordie Barrett, and Billy Proctor. They will make up the midfield yet again. Rieko Ioane keeps his spot out on the left wing. No Caleb Clark for this game. Imoni Narua moves into the starting lineup as the right winger, and Will Jordan as the number 15. In the chat, we have got their big up, says Broderick there, or Broderick I should say, and Malauso says Johnny Blaze, welcome in. Matthias has said hello, and Amelia is here as well. The online business coach has said can't wait for this rivalry to resume. And if I was a Bot fan, I hope we seriously up our game from the last few matches. The thing is, I think the feeling's mutual. There are a lot of New Zealanders who are hoping to see something a bit more than what they saw from New Zealand in the last match up against Argentina, rightfully so. The ABs did lose in that matchup, so it's been now completely out of favour then. I would say that at this point in time, he's probably, honestly, 3rd or 4th choice 6 for New Zealand. He did play in the Bunnings EPC for Waikato and didn't really impress that much, which I think makes it tricky for him to build his way back in. But if Simon Parker does well in this number 6 jersey, it may be a little bit similar to what we saw last year when Wallace Satiti took that blindside flanker role. They've got Vai as a backup too, although I assume that Vai moving to lock is just for these games up against the South Africans. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see whether or not Summer Penifino can find his way back in, or whether he does end up missing out. We have got them. When will you play Rugby 25 with George again? When the game's good. We're still waiting a little while, and we might be waiting quite some more time. If Scott Robertson had no plans to play Leroy Carter, why did he not release him for Bay of Plenty this weekend? Says Kiwi Rob. It is a good question. I assume just an extra week in the environment was the goal there for Scott Robertson. Plus, let's be honest, if Kyle Preston's foot was playing up or his ankle was playing up, Leroy Carter theoretically could have been a halfback backup option because he has played there before. So I don't know whether or not Xavier Rowe was actually going to be eligible to play for the All Blacks in that game, or at least that's what I heard. So maybe Leroy Carter was in there as just the precaution of the absolute last resort in that number 9 jersey. Looking through though at the Springboks starting lineup. They did announce their side 6 p.m. yesterday night, and they made quite a few changes compared to what we saw in their prior match. Although, when you look through at this team, we will be doing a bit of a comparison, but pretty similar to what we saw in the second test match up against New Zealand last year, in which the Boks were victorious. That was the more low scoring of the two contests. First game, they went a little bit more risky with Sasha Feinberg, Ngome Zulu as the 10, but second game, Pollard came in and really controlled that game. For the Boks, but Oxenshare, Malcolm Marks and Thomas Detoy, they will be the front rowers, so same as what we saw last week up against the Wallabies. Eben Etzebeth gets his spot at number 4 with Ruan Nokia at 5. That man has been in some terrific form, and of course that veteran in Etzebeth at number 4 going head-to-head with Scott Barrett. Tomorrow, Mako van Staden as the number 6, Peter Steph Detoy number 7, and Sio Khaleesi, who will not be the captain. Instead, Creel does get that honour. It was due to a slightly later decision to bring Sio Khaleesi into the side. Initially, he was not going to be named, so Jesse Creel got given that captaincy, and when they decided Khaleesi to come back in, they decided Creel might as well keep that captaincy as well. Grant Williams alongside Andre Pollard as that 9 and 10 combination. They both made their way off the bench in the Ellis Park Test match last year, but then both started in Cape Town. Damien Dealendi and Jesse Creel, that man was absolutely formidable in the last Rugby Championship in terms of being able to get those steals in the breakdown. Kanan Moody out on the left wing, Cheslin Colby out on the right, so actually a switch from what we saw last week, and I believe that is to try and counter Rico Ioane and Vili LaRue. A little bit of the surprising choice, I guess you could say, in this lineup, not going with Apalele Fasi, although in the games last year he did get himself a yellow card up against New Zealand, so perhaps that is something in the back of their minds, the ill discipline, but overall still very dangerous. Under that high ball in the chat we have got there will probably be an entire South African population from Auckland at the game. Our home game for the mighty world champion Boks, says Johnny Blaze. We have got there also a question, why are you doing 2 previews? Says Brandon, that is a fantastic question. So pretty much the reasoning behind it is time zones. We were going to be up at the random hour of the night anyway. So this time zone preview, I guess you could call it, is almost the New Zealand edition. And then that one at 3 a.m. will be the South African edition. But also with that, from looking through at the past games, we're actually going to be basing the main point of each of these previews on a different match from last year. So this one, it is going to be based off the Ellis Park Test match where the score was quite high scoring, to be fair, but it was 27 points to 31 in favour of the South Africans. And then the second Test match up against the two sides, that is what will be the main focus point of the next game. Are you watching NPC? I am currently not, but I do know there is a game currently taking place. How do we get Rugby Championship stats like meters made, tackles, dominant tackles, etc.? Would be nice to have a deep dive on those, says Broderick. It depends on where you want to look. There are quite a few websites. The main ones that I use are the Rugby Championship website themselves, as well as Rugby Pass is another good one to be able to get those type of stats. I'm excited but nervous for this game, says Novmum. Hi Hamish, hi all. Says Wild Lobster there too. And Simon Parker versus Peter Steph Detoy is going to be a juicy lineup. Both big, tall, and could go for the full 80 minutes. One is the best number 6 in the world. The other is hungry. Excited to see Parker and how he goes up against Peter Steph. And it's certainly going to be a big test for the youngster because, you know, you get your debut last week up against Argentina, and sadly he does fall into that category of the All Blacks who have had a debut in a losing effort. Cody Taylor, he becomes the first All Black to lose their Centurion match. But this weekend, Kyle Preston making his debut at Eden Park, and also Adi Savia bringing up that 100-match milestone. So those two men could have a repeat of what we saw up against Argentina, or they can right those wrongs, the All Blacks. And to be fair, there's quite a few of them. One for us Kiwis and one for South Africa. Says Kiwi Rob. Did you see the 7 schedule? I did. I don't know who's in the first pools though, but I do know when it is starting up. It's going to be weird with the fact that they keep on changing how many teams are in there. They're going to pepper Rico with high balls, and Cheslin Colby will soar above Reeks and regather all their ball, even though Reeks is 6'2" and Colby must be 5'5", says Johnny Blaze. And that is one thing that I noticed throughout watching those 2 games from last year. In particular, that first match. The work that Caleb Clark was doing under the high ball. We've got a few bits of information about that for a bit later on, but Rico is going to be under huge pressure here because we haven't seen any signs this year that he actually wants to go up for a high ball. He likes making that tackle as soon as the opposition grab that ball and land. But the question is, will Cheslin Colby, the world-class player that he is, have enough skill to then just offload it to someone else, and that creates that line down the wing anyway? I think yes, and that is where it gets a little bit dangerous for the All Blacks. But then, is that also the type of game that New Zealand want to play here? We've got to remember that South Africa, with the up and unders and the territory game, lately anyway, would completely knock New Zealand off the park. But what they were susceptible to in the games up against Australia was those counter-attacks. They on Australia versus Argentina, then at 6:35 doing build-up or nothing like that. That's pretty much what we're going to be doing. We're also going to be doing at least the first half of Samoa versus Fiji. Sadly, a lot of overlaps throughout the weekend, not just for the Rugby Championship and Pacific Nations Cup, but also for the Women's World Cup and Currie Cup too. But we're going to be trying to juggle out as much as we can. A draw will be highly disappointing. It would be a little bit, but then at the same time, I do think a draw, like, if it's a well-earned draw, I would accept it, because that just means that the Rugby Championship for one more week, matters that little bit more, because if either of these two sides go 2-0 in New Zealand, I feel like from there they will win the Rugby Championship. But then if we're in the scenario of 1-1 or a draw and one victory for one of these sides, it could get pretty close going down to the wire, same location as last year, or anything changed. We didn't see last year or the same, says Brandon. In terms of the sevens, there are a few little switches that have happened. There are, of course, less sides now taken part. How's the weather, says Andre. We'll get an updated weather report. The last I saw, it was going to be raining in the earlier stages of the day, and then from there, it was supposed to kind of clear up by the evening. So from 3 a.m. tomorrow morning, there's supposed to be 35% chance of rain. Goes as high as 75% at 9 a.m., 8 a.m. Oh, it's actually right through from 6 a.m., 75% right to 11 a.m., and then drops off at 2. And then the sun's actually supposed to come out at around 5 or 6. And it's supposed to be a little bit of wind, gusts up to 21 kilometers an hour. So it won't be the worst rugby weather, but it will be a little bit slippery underfoot, I would think, throughout the 80 minutes. And thanks, big man. Big ups from South Africa. And we are, of course, going to have that South African preview a little bit later on, 3 a.m. New Zealand time, which will be 5 p.m. for you guys in South Africa. We're going to be doing almost like a part 2 to this preview. We'll be looking through at the players, of course, a few of the interesting stats as well that we don't cover in this one. Come on the ABs, says Tom, and All Blacks play their fast game, they win. Well, that's the thing. If they can get that backline firing, which won't be easy to do, because we have seen a couple times recently where they almost haven't looked on the same page. But if they can, and they can get it flowing, they could be extremely dangerous heading into this contest. But we've got some fun stats so far from this year's Rugby Championship. Quite a few New Zealanders and South Africans are leading the charge in certain departments. We have got there as well, which makes it even more crazy, right? Little Colby dominating the air against 6'3" Rico. It shows how awesome Cheslin is. Yeah, he's just insane in the air. He will commit fully, and he shouldn't win as many high balls as he does, but he does. Every time that he goes up for it, comes down with it more times. They're not looking forward to the game. Will be breakfast time in Ireland. Good start to the day. Says Patrick. Yeah, it's just a hectic weekend of rugby. Before that, we've got the game between Argentina and Australia, so that will be a nice warm-up fixture, almost like a co-main event before the main event does get underway. You've also got Fiji versus Samoa, the Women's World Cup, the last round, where in every single group it is 1 versus 2, so the top of the table clash is right across the board to determine who faces who in the quarterfinals. The Carling Currie Cup, it is the last round. There's a Ranfurly Shield challenge for Southland up against Canterbury. So I don't know how to keep up with all the sport that's going on. The forwards will cancel each other out. It's up to the back lines, especially 9s and 10s, says Peter, and that is where the big question mark comes into it. How will Finlay Christie and Bowden Barrett go as that 9 and 10 combination? Now, of course, they did play some of that match up against the Argentinians in match 2. But, Christie's got a massive role to play here because, you look through at the history. Even just the last 4 games up against South Africa, New Zealand have lost all of them. And they've had some very different halfback options. The first match at Ellis Park, They were up against the South Africans. TJ Perenara was the man in the number 9 jersey. Actually got himself penalised when New Zealand had early momentum for talking too much to the referee and shouting at Andrew Brace. Then you've got Aaron Smith. The games before them, we saw one of the best 9s in the world struggle up against South Africa. And then alongside that, in the later game, it was actually Cortez Ratama who got himself the start, and that was also the losing effort from New Zealand. We have got All Blacks 17, Box 18, says Arpazo there. And we have got there as well. Sorry if you answered already. What are you going to do? Or are you going to do a watch along for the Sharks versus Pumas? We will not be, only because I'm not sure how long that preview that we are doing for the Springboks versus All Blacks match will go for. So because of that, I didn't want to commit to doing that other stream just in case we ended up running that a little bit longer. Rugby World Cup Pool A is the pool of death. Says, no, Mum, yeah, there's some pretty tough groups in that World Cup, that is for sure. I assume that Pool A is definitely England, USA, and Australia, I assume. And it's going to be tricky. You know, USA have to win up against the Samoans by an absolutely huge margin. Whereas on the other side of things, you've got Australia who have to try not to lose by the massive margin to the favourites, England. And on the Australia versus England game, because it will decide Pool A, I believe we are, yes. And before that, I'm hoping to do Boland versus the Western Province. And it looks like Province really stacked their side heading into that match. We'll probably miss our other game, as it will be 5:30 a.m. We'll watch highlights before the All Blacks game. Says Patrick there. We have got the High Champion. I can jump on in about 5 minutes-ish, so I will get you that link going. And yeah, if you just want to join anytime you want to, we have got the Wish New Zealand the best. Says Jackson also can't call game between All Blacks and the Box. I'll be honest, I sat for a very long time, and luckily there is a thing called editing, but I probably sat for a good 5 minutes in silence trying to decide on my score prediction for the preview. I chopped and changed between the two sides very often. One thing that I could agree on, though, was it was going to be extremely close between the sides. And I do think that's going to be the case again. As long as the All Blacks keep their discipline, don't go down to 14, they should get over the line. That is a very good point. And we did actually see that in the first game at Ellis Park. I mentioned how that was going to be the main talking point heading through this preview. And then the other match of Cape Town Stadium was going to be on the second part of the live preview. But that first game, New Zealand up by quite a substantial margin heading into the final moments of the game. And it seemed like they had control. You know, they were 27 points to 14 ahead. And then Ofa Tuangafasi. In fact, it might have been 27-16 in that one. But Ofa Tuangafasi gets himself yellow carded. And then from there, we saw two different times that New Zealand conceded throughout that 10 minutes. Did you know your audio cut out in your All Blacks prediction squad? Probably. It does sometimes do that on my streaming software. I'm not sure if it would have cut out completely or whether it would have just been for like half a second and then it kind of comes back and gets raring to go. We have got there, I haven't seen any pressure from Rico off kickoff. AB's wingers don't have the gas to do that. I thought we learned that versus France. Yet here we are with Rico at 11 again. Says Johnny, and if we do lose, I'm happy for it. To be against the Box who are the most deserving. I really want to see the ABs hungry again, says Oosh the boys. And yeah, of course, a lot on the line here. All Blacks haven't lost since 1994 at Eden Park. So not only is that on the cards, but South Africa have not beaten New Zealand at Eden Park since 1937. So that goes even further back. The last time that South Africa won on New Zealand soil, I believe, was 2018, I want to say it might have been. And that was in Wellington, the location of the second test match. It's just that Rico doesn't have a skill set for the high ball. Skills is for feet pressure on the kickoff, says Tano2, and South Africa and New Zealand to draw with a score of 3-3 and leave our South Africans and New Zealand fans crying into our beers, brandies and cokes. I want Argentina or Australia to win the Rugby Championship, says Arno. Well, to be fair, if it was that low scoring, it would certainly open up the door for those other sides to be able to get there. Now with Caleb Clark, on the other hand, who was 6'2" and elite at the high ball, Scott Colby at the complete disadvantage in height, jump height and weight difference, which allows Clark to weight bully, says Tanner. Yeah, it still shocks me, to be honest, with the fact that the All Blacks did not decide to pick Caleb Clark in this game. Now, the reasoning that Scott Robertson gave was because he hasn't had much game time, and they wanted to give him a couple more chances in the MPC first. But I think watching Ellis Park Test match, Caleb Clark got himself 2 tries. He dominated in the air. He made some brilliant runs, some crucial tackles, and didn't look a piece out of place in the game up against South Africa. Now, you could argue he didn't have his best Super Rugby season, but throughout that Super Rugby season, we saw the glimpses of what he was able to do the year prior. And we also got to remember, who was the man on his inside throughout Super Rugby who had 0 try assists throughout the season? Was it a case of Caleb Clark not scoring because of his individual mistakes, or based off more so how often the team got him the ball? Did you read my comment? I believe I did, if it was the long one about the 6'2" Caleb Clark aerial battle. I think so. Oh yeah, I've got the, are you wearing your suit tomorrow? I will be wearing the suit, yes. Got to dress up for that one, of course. Half-time for Northland versus Otago, 7-7 still. To be fair, the Bunnings NPC games that we've seen this year, a lot of them anyway, you have a close first half, and then the second half, the floodgates open, and it ends up being really close at the end of the game. So I wouldn't be surprised if that Northland Otago goes up to like 25-24 or something by the end of it. If you were to put together a 15 made up of the best of both sides, which All Blacks would be in that team, says Echo, based off the starting lineups, Echo here, or based off just in general the squads? Agree with Caleb Clark. I think we'll quickly see him. And if Rico does not perform, says Tom. Yeah, I mentioned this being Rico's make or break game out on the wing, because I think if you had the option of putting Caleb Clark on the left wing, if it meant that Rico moved to 13 for this game, 95, if not higher, % of people would do that. Don't get me wrong, Billy Proctor, he's still got a long time to be able to progress in that All Blacks kit. But you just need someone who looks interested in a high ball. A couple of those chases off kickoff. You know, Caleb Clark right up in the face of the South Africans, putting in the big hit. Imoni Narawa will hopefully be able to offer that throughout this game, and maybe that is why they got rid of Severis. Starting 15, says Echo. Okay, so technically I'll go Ardie Savia, because Peter Steph-Toy theoretically is playing as a blind side in South Africa rather than the open side. So I feel like for that reason I can slightly chop and change. Based off the current lineup, Nokia or Vai's tricky, because it was actually the same last year, how for my team of the tournament I couldn't decide between those two. They're both playing exceptional rugby. So in that number 5 jersey, it's honestly a flip of a coin. Malcolm Marx or Cody Taylor is also tricky, because Malcolm Marx is world class, but Cody Taylor's got the better line-out accuracy throughout the season and potentially has had a bit more impact on what the All Blacks have been able to do. I think that in terms of the backline, Will Jordan, I'd put him in ahead of Willie LaRue, even though he had a bit of a rough game last week. Geordie Barrett, Damien Dealende, depends on the style of rugby you're trying to play, but you probably go Dealende just as the slightly safer bet. And then also same with the first fives, whether or not you're playing attacking or you're going defensive would depend on Pollard or Barrett. Metsia last week, don't even meet your idols, didn't want to take a photo and mouthed OMG to sign my jersey, says Apazo there. Was that just after they had like a 20-hour flight though? It was probably fatigue, I would think, and a bit of jet lag setting in if it was at the airport. We have got the Arico 13, Caleb 11, says Paula. The only reason that Cody Taylor has a better line-out stat is because the Pumas didn't really compete, says Alan, and also because Fabian Holland won 15 line-outs throughout the competition so far, and they decided, here's the thing, he's winning all the line-outs, we'll take him out of the starting lineup, we'll put him off the bench instead. But, yeah, it's just intriguing to see the little selections. The fact that we've got a loose forward trio, which is Simon Parker, Ardie Savia, and Willie LaRue, which some people would have been extremely excited about seeing that as maybe the first lineup of the year. But the fact that now this will be the first time that we see that trio together and it's up against the world champions, it's going to really test them. And this contest we have got there, Rico needs to move back to 13, shifting him to left wing did absolutely no favours. The thing is, I think that Rico, when he started on the left wing, had all the skill set needed to be a world-class winger, and to be fair, he was. He spent too much time in that 13 jersey, and now it seems like he's a little bit indecisive about what he's actually trying to do. And I think that has been costing the Kiwis a little bit. Like, don't get me wrong, I think if he had, let's say, 10 more games on the left wing, he could probably get the hang of it again. But do you have the time to afford to put him in that left wing jersey when that World Cup's just around the corner? When you've got someone like a Caleb Clark who will probably take the realm or take the reins out their side or on that side instead. The only other change I would have liked to see would be Rico to 13, Jordan to 14, and D-Mac to 15, and Chuck Love on the bench. The thing is, I was watching that first match at Ellis Park. Damian McKenzie was the fly half with Bowden Barrett at 10, and they looked extremely dangerous as a duo for that game. In fact, they looked so dangerous that it kind of made me wish that they had selected it for this contest, and like you said, maybe put Will Jordan out on the wing for this contest, even though it's not quite the most favourable option, but I don't know, it just seemed to be quite dangerous. You know, Bowden Barrett at the back, he had 3 clean breaks running from pretty much deep and just trying to work his way out. Geordie Barrett in that game actually had 91 metres for the All Blacks. Caleb Clark had 54 metres, 2 tries scored, 6 carries and 2 defenders beaten. And then also Damian McKenzie, he actually only had 16 metres carried, but they were some pretty crucial metres along the way with 3 defenders beaten too. We have got the LOEH, says Juan, welcome in, hope you're doing extremely well. And 5 days after being here. Says Apazo in there. And Lavanini to the Highlanders. Now that caught me by surprise, says Johnny Blaze. Probably got the word from Pablo Matera. It's not too bad in the South Island of New Zealand, but he'll be an interesting combo, Lavanini with Fabian Holland. Because do they play, I guess they'll play Lavanini as the 4, wouldn't they? In that scenario, Holland 5, Tupavai 6. I'm very curious to see how good Narawa is in the high ball. I never really see him under the high ball in Super Rugby. Not that I can remember, says Tanner too. Yeah, I do think his defence is extremely crucial in this type of game. We have got the, what's the story with number 1 and number 2. Love stream notes, says Juan Pierre Bosch. So pretty much the gist of it is this stream is more so targeted towards the New Zealand audience because it is the 7:30 p.m. start time here in New Zealand. Second test match will be starting at 3 a.m. New Zealand time. Second live stream. I think I said test match there, but the gist of it is this one, the predominant focus is going to be the underlying of that first test match at Ellis Park between New Zealand and South Africa, and then the second one is going to be more so based off the Cape Town Stadium match, which was the lowest scoring, the kind of aerial battle that you would expect to see at Eden Park. So it's kind of the chop and change of this one's more about the attacking rugby style that we could see, whereas the other one's more about the kind of grindy and gritty type of performance, which I think we will also get to see at times throughout this matchup. Will you be there at the stadium? I will not. I'm in the wrong island for that to be a possibility. We have got the unpicking ABs by 5 points. As long as we're clinical, lineouts are key, says Dave. And All Blacks to win 27 points to 24 with try scorers of Jordan, Barrett, and Tupavai, says Highlanders fan. Okay, so going with the relatively attacking side, I would think. Or actually, that's Scott Barrett, isn't it? So you're going power up front with the forwards. They're not my space then. To All Blacks for me, says one. To be fair, we are still going to be talking about the box quite a bit throughout this one too. We have to mention that 5-3 split off the bench rather than going with that 6-2, which was an intriguing one. And some people feel like maybe there's still a late change that could take place. I wonder if they moved Holland to the bench because he might get starstruck playing versus Big Eben and Peter Steph Toy. May not be focused and respect them too much, whereas Vai won't give a fudge. Maybe, or it could just be the case of, you know, the way that the loose forward trio is set up, it just seems like we're going to see a lot more jackling taking place from New Zealand. You know, you've got the big men in there, Simon Parker, alongside also Artie Savia and Wallace Satiti thrown in the mix. Vai adding that physicality in the locking duo alongside Scott Barrett. So I do think that the All Blacks, with their selection, seems like they're trying to win the forward battle. And if they can do that, they can then start to use their backs. No, we have got there, I meant points, not points, says David. And hi, Hamish, surely the All Blacks will win. I think they should have a decent chance in this contest. One of my guests at the moment, he is being disruptive, I guess you could say, but he will be popping on in the very near future. I wonder if they moved Holland. Oh no, I read that one tonight. Did you watch the Wars? I didn't get to see the Wars unfortunately. And Geordie to 15, Narawa to 11, Jordan to 14. Also, you're going back to Geordie Barrett as that number 15. It has been talked about a little bit, although the thing is, if I was to pick a Barrett at the moment in that 15 jersey, I honestly think I'll go Bowden, believe it or not. I do think that Geordie Barrett, he's had a bit of a mixed year, but I still do like him enough at 12. I don't think they were going to make any big switches in that department like Sagan with Quintupai, and also now they have no option going with the Muthi Tavatavanawa due to that injury. And Caleb Clark at 11, Che Fiaki at 14. Says Tanner too. Fiaki is good under a high ball, perhaps something that Scott Robertson might look at in the near future. We have got there Hamish if the second half, when the box change out of their forward pack. Do we do the same or hold off a bit? I think our forwards off the bench can win us the game in the last 30. See, the biggest problem New Zealand has had, and I'm actually going to bring in the guest for this one, ladies and gentlemen, because this man knows they're feeling too much of frustration from late cards for the All Blacks. But, that Ellis Park test match, the one that I was just talking about not too long ago, we saw the All Blacks with a hefty lead to then have an Ofa Fasi yellow card that cost them 2 converted tries and went on to lose that game. So it's all about making the right decisions later on in the contest. The All Blacks discipline has been a little bit shaky at times, but we will bring on the guest, ladies and gents. If he is ready, I'll just see if there's a thumbs up that comes into play. Okay, there is a thumbs up, and I see an All Blacks kit there too. So, ladies and gentlemen, we will bring in, some of you will know him as quote-unquote, that annoying moderator. But ladies and gentlemen, I'll wait till he puts the fingers down before I add him in. There we go. It is Tony. Oi. Welcome in, Tony. How's it going?
Hey, pal. Yeah, I cop some shit in that moderating your thing. Come on, try and do the channel a favor. Help support you. And then, that guy's cringe. I'm like, oh, for God's sake. No, I appreciate it. My mum tells me I'm cringe as well. So no,
Does she?
I understand. No, how are we doing, pal?
I'm excited. I'm nervous as well for both of these sides. I feel like this is the type of game here that, this determines the Rugby Championship just a little bit. Are you shaking your head because I'm nervous for both sides and not just
the that's what you're the worst New Zealander I've ever met. Can you just be? How many South Africans do you even know? Like, I know
quite a few. They seem to not mind me. I've been told multiple times that normally South Africans hate New Zealanders, but I'm all right. Is the normal comment?
Are we talking about South Africans in the real world or South Africans online?
Mainly online, but I did once help build a garage for a South African family, and I gave them some biltong.
Oh, fantastic! They gave you some biltong?
No, I gave them some because I got some in the mail, and I was like, this doesn't taste right. So I kind of. Yeah, well, it's a service that they have here in New Zealand, it would seem. But it had been sitting in a van for a couple of days. So I didn't so much as go, this tastes bad, here you go. I more so went, hey, is this what it's supposed to taste like? And they went, no.
All right. So, it's kind of like jerky. It's like a dried meat.
Or actually, to be fair, I once said that and I got crucified for that. They're slightly different in the way that they're prepared. I will mention, I think your microphone is doing what it did the other day too in terms of it sounds half disconnected.
How's that, Sweet Pete? Oh, now I can't hear you. Oh, no.
How'd that happen? Did you just move it half an inch?
And then I'll come back.
We'll see you back.
I'll sort things out.
See you back shortly. Tony will be back, ladies and gentlemen. We have got I saw that they painted Eden Park black. Did they actually, or was that just a rumour that was going around? I did see those same pictures, though, of a black field for underneath. You're more than all right, says Corinne there. And also we have got there, the Wardiers with the fastest try ever, that real, says the AI. And also what's the game plan, boys. So we are going to be talking through this matchup. Of course, once Tony does return, he is having a couple little technical difficulties. Honestly, it didn't sound that bad, but I assume that if he had heard it back, he would get annoyed about it if it was like the live stream the other night. We have got the, what about Sevu at 10? Maybe mix it up a bit. What about Ruben Love at 10? If you're going to mix it in, you might as well go with someone who's slightly had a chance at first 5. So I don't know whether Sevu would quite fill in that jersey the way that they'd like him to, but Ruben Love, could he have been an option? I think that Bowden's the right choice, though. And I know that his form's been in and out. But it's just, he's one of those players. Here's Tony again, maybe. Hello, Tony. Welcome back.
Hey, mate. Can you hear me?
Oh, that sounds crisp this time.
Ooh,
that's the right one.
That's the right one.
We're talking about Beauden Barrett and whether or not he's the right choice for the number 10 in this matchup. I honestly think that at this point, like, it was either have Beauden as the 10 and maybe, you have Will Jordan at 15, or you could go maybe Mackenzie as the 10.
What would you do, Lydia? D-Mac or Beauden Barrett at 10?
Beauden Barrett at 10. 100%.
Fantastic.
There you go. What's the reasoning, though? Because I've heard that a lot of females just seem to like Beauden Barrett. Is that the reasoning behind it?
He's got a cute ass.
He's got a cute ass.
That's actually the exact wording I heard about a month ago. But I haven't looked ever since.
Lydia, despite living in New Zealand for 25 years, has watched approximately 18 seconds of rugby. So she
all of Beauden Barrett's behind.
You could recognize Beauden Barrett? No, she couldn't. She doesn't even know what he looks like.
We got there from the AI underdog pick says, damn, she knows more than Tony, and then added, oh, okay, maybe not. Because obviously it was at the point of...
I've watched 19 seconds. I've watched 19 seconds with the rugby, whereas I've got it by a second there. Look, I've got to apologise. I flashed you my ass.
You did. They didn't know.
I was really trying to put you on.
Well, it worked. It was certainly eventful down the bottom, because that's the thing. I can see all the screens down the bottom of who's joining, and we might have more. Who knows? I've kind of
just joining?
No one that I know of yet for this one, but maybe one on the next stream. But anyone who wants to pop in, flick Mark a message if he's really keen. But I think he's quite busy doing the moving and whatnot, isn't he? But we're going to talk, Tony, about this Eden Park Test match. There's a huge amount of prestige. That is an interesting caricature. That's a big nose on Razor. He'd smell around a corner, couldn't he?
Very small nose on. It's quite hard to do. A small nose on our man Rassie. Big one.
Are they both have they got colds?
Yeah, it looks like they're right in the middle of cold and flu season as well. And also,
is that the advertisements?
There's an advertisement for Somerset Retirement Village as well.
There you go.
Popped out. But these, what are these, mate? Hold on.
Those are, I assume, the fixtures that they have played in the past at Eden Park.
These are the fixtures since 1994. You know what you see here when you actually look at the fixtures, mate? A lot of Australia.
Blurry. Is it?
A lot of Australia.
Mm-hmm.
Not a huge amount of South Africa, to be fair. And, could you argue that we've gatekeeped it a little bit from the South Africans?
I think the last time they played up against South Africa at Eden Park was about 2012 or 13, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the Bismarck test where he got recarded. You would have been too young to... Do you remember that?
It was on DC, wasn't it?
Well, it was two yellow cards. He got he did a cracking tackle on DC. Nothing illegal about it at all. Just absolutely crunched him. Like he was upright in the tackle, but even back then that wasn't a thing. There was no head contact, and he just drove him into the ground, like his shoulder into the ground. And DC was injured for I think the rest of the Rugby Championship for that after that tackle. So it was damaging. It was physical. It was hard, but there was nothing at all illegal about it. So he got 10 minutes there, and then he went off, and then he came back on, and then he was going into a tackle, and he was going into a tackle against Liam Messon. You know Liam Messon? You remember that player? Mm-hmm. And he raised an elbow. And copped him in the head. Like, it looked pretty bad. And then he got a second yellow for that. And then he got his marching orders.
Mm. And the thing is, these two sides have received quite a fair amount of yellow cards as of late. New Zealand currently lead in the Rugby Championship this year. And it's not even close. South Africa have had 1. New Zealand have had 5. 5 yellow cards from 2 games. Now, 3 in the second match.
We've had 5?
Just by themselves. 5 for New Zealand. And, you look at what happened at Ellis Park. I mentioned about it a bit earlier on, how Ofa Toingafasi got that yellow card when New Zealand had a nice lead heading into the last 15 minutes. Then from there, South Africa 2 converted tries to then win that game. Yeah. So, is this going to be one of those cases where New Zealand do something dumb and end up getting themselves yet again another yellow card because of the trend? Or can they actually break that trend for a match up against a physical side like the Springboks?
I just think that this game, you can't even really judge current form, current discipline. All of that shit just goes out the door. Like everything that we know about these teams leading into this game in terms of where they're currently at and 2025 goes out the door. This is just, it's all stripped back, and it's going to be just a brutal, pulverizing, emotional, who wants it more, who's smart enough, who can actually bring it together at the fore at this very moment. Like I really don't. I think it's its own sort of living in its own kind of microcosm, like it's its own little microclimate. This game in itself is bigger than the Rugby Championship altogether. I would much rather win this game than win the Rugby Championship. If we lose, and that the record, this record is up there with, winning a World Cup and not winning a World Cup. Obviously we've clocked a lot of victories together at the Fortress at Eden Park. But if we lose that, it's gone. We can never get it back.
Yep.
If you lose a World Cup, you've got another 4 years to get it back. It's super unlikely that the All Blacks are going to be able to lose this and then hold on, and then somehow rebuild another 30-year winning streak at Eden Park. It's not impossible, but in terms of what they got, every game they have at Eden Park is just about stretching this on, like entrenching that legacy. That still remains a bit of the aura of the All Blacks. And it's just this massive moment where we're on a bit of a rebuilding phase. We've had a bit of a tough last 5 years, I would say, maybe even a little bit longer. It's kind of since 2017, we haven't really looked like the greatest, the side that we once were. And the South Africans, despite being back-to-back world champions, they're not looking like the greatest team ever. But I still think we're still going to see the two greatest teams in the world light it up tomorrow night. And I'm amped, man. I'm so excited. I don't I haven't felt this way since the World Cup, where I've just been sort of just like ruminating on it all day, having some nervous poos and just not feeling, just sitting there going, just worrying about it, just worrying about the outcome. And this is what got me about you and your comment earlier, was when you're saying, geez, I'm worried about the South Africans. Holy smoke, what freaking Hamish from Pretoria? What the fuck, mate? You're from goddamn South Canterbury. Jeez Louise. I'm worried about the South. They're the enemy tomorrow. We just got to take them down. We've got to protect homeland. Give me a little bit of parochial patriotism, you sad sack of a New Zealander. Come on, give it to me. Give it to me. Come on. We get absolutely bombarded online with South African go baka fucking walk my face off. Just give me something. Come on. I need to hear it from you. Give me something.
Apologies for the language, ladies and gentlemen, of course. But that's the thing. Like you said, 31 years at Eden Park is a massive stretch of time. And it would be debated that can't be achieved again. The way that
you would be a great politician. You would be a great politician. Yeah, you're avoiding the thing is,
3 weeks' time, they have to do it again at Eden Park. So even if they beat South Africa, they will be up against a valiant Australian side who are currently looking, they look like they're a little bit rejuvenated in the way that they've been playing. But I think that for the Kiwis, you look through at this record at Eden Park, and even just up against up against South Africa in New Zealand, and it's not too bad. The thing is, South Africa have won 6 of the last 9 up against New Zealand, but only one of those matches took place in New Zealand, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Like the fact that there were 4 games in South Africa, 1 in England, 1 in France, 2 in Australia. The last time that these two sides played, it was at Mount Smart Stadium in 2023. New Zealand able to win it by 15. The last time that South Africa beat New Zealand in New Zealand was back in 2018, I believe, was when it was.
In Wellington.
That was indeed. They also had to draw a little bit after that in Wellington, but 2 of the try scorers from that 2018 game, Cheslin Colby, Malcolm Marks, both in the starting lineup here for the South Africans. What I'm going to do, Tony, for you, is I have got a overlay that I am going to pop up on the screen. And in this overlay, it shows what the lineup looked like for that Rugby World Cup final. Now, it's only recently. You ready? We're going to go off to the side. That's not quite right. Hang on. How do we do this? We'll remove that one. We'll get, how do we get you?
God, I'm missing Talia this year. I'm really missing Talia.
We're so small. Off to the side. Hang on. No, that's not it. We'll find one of them soon.
On hands.
No, that's not it. It's almost, I can lean a little bit if you want to lean a little bit, just so that you can even be the right way. There we go. The lineup. This was what New Zealand looked like for the Rugby World Cup 2023. Brodie Retallick no longer there for New Zealand. No Shannon Frizzell, no Sam Cane, no Smith, no Moonga. So a whole different 19 combination in that regard.
Man.
Geordie Barrett, the last man standing in terms of the position anyway.
Yeah.
And some would say that his 12 was him playing out of position compared to where some want to see him in terms of that fullback jersey.
Scooter and Cody Taylor. And then if Lomax is on the bench, we could technically put him at number 3, but he's a little bit underdone in terms of fitness right now. But that's it. Yeah, it's a totally... And Asavi is out of position. Frizzell is playing in Europe. Smith is still playing in Japan. Moang is playing in Japan. Talia's about to go to Japan. Bodie's moved to 10. Will Jordan's out in a different position. Rico's in a different position. It's a very different team, isn't it?
Very different. South Africa, I feel like they went with more so the experience. Now, I do have to say, if Kurtley Arendse wasn't injured, I think we would have seen him playing in this contest. But there are still quite a few players for the South Africans too that are missing in terms of this original lineup. But they have gone with a very similar side to what we saw in the second test match up against New Zealand last year. Now, that was the lowest scoring of the games. First match, 27 points to 31. That second game, a lot lower. So does that mean we're going to see a little bit more of a defensive kind of kicking strategic battle out there on the field from the South Africans? And is that the type of battle that New Zealand, with their selections, could actually really struggle with?
The thing that gives me a little bit of confidence at the moment, and you look back at these great South African teams that have beaten us on this 4-run stretch, and that includes the World Cup final. They're all 7-1, 6-2 splits, all that sort of thing, aren't they? I am taking great comfort out of the fact that it's a 5-3 split. They say you don't do what your opposition doesn't want you to do. And I want them to go with a 5-3 split. So that gave me a lot more comfort knowing that they were going to do this 5-3 split. I feel like they don't have the bomb squad has not had its punch. It's almost feel like they've abandoned the bomb squad. So tactically, I feel like there's a bit of a shift, and they've changed the way that they're even doing battle, like brown ball, or what do they call it? Tony ball?
Tony ball, I think. Tony ball sounds better.
Brown ball just sounds like you've taken a shit. Tony ball. I think there's a lot of potential there, and we saw for 20 minutes against the Aussies that they looked pretty impressive. But are they able to sustain it for long periods of time? They really ran out of gas in that first test. Is it natural South African play? I don't know. They're going away from what made them great in the first place with the bomb squad and just a really big physical lineup. The one thing that we're still going to struggle with, that my biggest fear, and it's probably most true blue patriotic New Zealanders' biggest fear, Hamish, is the high ball. Like, how are we going? Like, we've looked inept underneath the high ball, absolutely inept.
Well, compared to last season as well, like
I was getting a score update from the Warriors when you finished your question before, and then you stopped talking. And then I was like, oh no, I have to say something. And I didn't quite hear his question. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go ranting about squads. There we go.
Oh, no, that's all right. We were almost talking about them, I'd say. So you have done well. Yeah. But the thing is, last year, Caleb Clark was phenomenal under the high ball up against South Africa. Definitely a match number one. I just finished watching that game, as I have been all throughout the week. But even just the kickoff, the intent to chase that ball, something that you don't get with Rieko Ioane. Ioane's got all the pace in the world, but at times doesn't like to use it and instead would rather the opposition go up for the ball and then tackle them once they land. Now, that only works sometimes because if they get an offload like South Africa have been throughout the season, you get yourself in quite a bit of strife. But
100%.
just that running line as well of Caleb Clarke. I watched the second match up against the Australians, the Bledisloe Cup last year. Just that different kind of way of attacking adds so much extra, that directional change on attack. But I'll mention about the benches here. There are 3 things that stand out to me at the moment in terms of the South African bench. And I feel like they are probably the 3 things that a lot of South Africans are feeling as well. The first one is, of course, that no 6-2 split. Seems like an interesting choice when we know this is going to be physical, and also because we know that Siya Kolisi wasn't initially going to be named in this side, so that could mean he's not 100%. And worst case scenario, you've only got Kwaka Smith to be able to cover him. Then you've got a lot of other positions that you've got to try and find from your remaining players. Next one that I'm a bit concerned about, Jan-Hendrik Wessels. Not a specialist hooker, can play hooker very well, but what if Malcolm Marx gets injured 10 minutes into this game? Can you rely on Jan-Hendrik Wessels to be the man who gets that line out right consistently throughout the game with a side that have been struggling a little bit with line out accuracy, more so this year than we have seen in some of the past years? And then the third slight concern is, where do you play Ethan Hooker? And at what time do you give him the chance? He's a young man with a bright future, but this is Eden Park, a massive matchup where you're up against New Zealand, who are defending that 50-match unbeaten streak. Do you squeeze him into the midfield rather than a Dialendi or a Jesse Creel? You've got that extra back cover anyway. Could they have gone with the 6-2 here and given someone, maybe even an Andre Esterhuizen, and chuck him in as a hybrid like we've seen again?
What that sort of tells me, the fact they're not going with the 6-2 split, and I'm reading more into it, the fact that it's been such a strength of theirs, I don't know if we're reading the tea leaves correctly, but does it indicate to you that there's a few niggles in the 15? There's a few niggles that they're trying to cover to ensure that they've got the coverage for the blokes on the field. Obviously, Khaleesi's not at 100%. But why, that would only give you more credence to probably go with a 6-2 split to get an extra forward on the field. But I'm only going to look at this as an All Black fan. I fucking love it. I love their bench because it's not scary. There's nothing about, I'm terrified of their team, and I think it's a 50-50 game, and they could absolutely win this. But one of the things that usually gives me the shits is the likes of Bongi and Mbonambi and Snyman coming off the bench, or even Oxenshea when he was on the bench and stuff, and them coming on and absolutely rip shitting and busting with maybe some of the best forwards in the world. There's a little bit of tenderness there. There's, as you say, there's that tenderness at line out time as well. They fucking conceded a 22-meter. Yes, you can handle it. It's an F word. They conceded a 22-meter line out maul from Italy, that world-renowned Italian maul. So there's some issues there, but boy oh boy, we've got our own issues. So it's a weird kind of twilight land we're living in, where our backs look like shit, but their forwards look a little bit iffy. It's the opposite of what we're used to.
Well, that's the thing. Both sides heading into this game are probably far from the form that they'd like to be in. And also, looking at the selections, they're also far from what people expected to see. Even the loose forward trio for New Zealand, I don't think many were anticipating seeing Parker and Satiti in a starting lineup for New Zealand. Definitely after Parker's only had the one game last week in that number 8 jersey, and already does make that transition. Now, with his frame, you can understand why they've decided to put him in. But
he's a big human, isn't he?
He's a large man. He's kind of, a lot of people compare him to Liam Squire and that kind of build and physicality of what he can do.
Liam Squire had a cracker. He absolutely destroyed them in that 2017 game. It was beautiful, beautiful just seeing him absolutely. And 2017 game at Albany where we beat them 57. Was it nil?
It was nil, yes.
It was nil. I think so. Yeah, exactly. We made them look like a Georgia. But hey, you can tell me to suck on your 2 World Cups, and that's totally fair. Absolutely.
I wasn't sure where that sentence was going there for a second, but the World Cup's probably the best outcome for the end of that one. We've got their All Blacks will win from Eddie in there. And also we've got their Quacker Smith is a fantastic rugby player. I actually thought he did enough to get to start in this game. I would have actually, if Khaleesi is 90%, I'm thinking anything less than 100%, it's just a big risk to have him in the starting lineup with only the one forward cover. That's what I can't quite understand.
I love Quagga off the bench because I hate him off the bench, but I think he's terrific, absolutely terrific off the bench because he's the last man you want to see who just gets in there with all energy, all mongrel, is an absolute menace at the breakdown, is super physical, is absolutely 1,000% into everything with every ounce of his sinew to dedicate into whatever he's doing. And when you're one of those 80-minute players or a 70-minute player or something like that, and you're blowing out your ass, and this guy comes on, he's a menace. He's an absolute menace. And I don't think you get that impact when you play him from word dot. When everyone else is full of piss and vinegar too. Yeah, so I think he's great. I think he's maybe the world's best bench player.
Yeah, and I don't think many people would disagree. I know that another player right up there, people would go with Arage Snyman as well for different reasons. So that is why New Zealand are quite fortunate in this regard that they didn't decide to put the big Viking off the bench. Here we have got there, sounds like Sia was fully cleared. See, that's the crazy thing. Initially, it sounded like Khaleesi was going to be unavailable for both of these games. And then it became he might be able to make it. And then it was once again about maybe last week, they said not looking good. And then now he's ready. So he may be cleared, but I still don't think he would want to take a big knock on that injured area. That would, to me, maybe Willie LaRue is the one who's not 100% in this scenario.
Maybe.
Because he is the one who got injured and the late exclusion from the second test match up against Australia. They decided to take him out. But of course, He's got a huge amount of experience, and I do think you need him if you don't have Fafita.
I think
in this
side. I like what I like about Willie LaRue is he's an unabashed arsehole. Like, I love the fact that he's a prick. He's into the opposition. He's a niggly bugger. He's mouthy as all hell. He gets under people's skin. And I think in big emotional games like this, he can really, really sway things and make moments that change momentum. So I think and with that experience, he knows what he's doing. He's a bit like I think I've compared him to Dane Coles in the past. Every team needs an asshole, and he's your asshole. But I rate him. I rate him big time. Hey, if we're going to speculate, because that's all we can do right now, I've got a sneaky suspicion, and I'll be pissed as a pissed off thing if it's true, but Rassie Erasmus is a wily character, and he has a interesting interpretation of what is deemed to be within the spirit of the game, so to speak, and will use any sort of leverage he possibly can to get an advantage. And I think this would be a massively dishonorable move, but I wouldn't put it past him, and I bet South Africans would love it if, tomorrow, 6 hours before game day, we find out about someone with a niggle, and then, we have to change, and Snyman is coming in, and I guess we do have a 6-2 split. And it was always the plan, and I can see a world where that happens. I absolutely can. I think it's absolutely dishonorable and disgusting, but I very much see it. And if someone does get an absolute niggle, sure, but I'll be very, very suspicious. But I could definitely see a world where that would happen. Can you?
Well, the thing is, there was that later change in the last game up against the Australians, but I don't think that there was anything too cynical
nefarious
behind it. And the thing is, Rassie loves some mind games. Don't get me wrong. He absolutely loves it. But I don't think late fake injuries is something that they would go as far as doing. We saw
intentional offsides from kickoffs to trying to milk penalties. They've done that.
Yeah,
so.
But I think it's different during the game. Jean-Luc Deprez he was another guy that was possibly in the running for this matchup as well, but instead Kolisi getting the chance. So I think the only man who's getting hurt by everything in terms of these late changes is Jean-Luc Dupré, because he's been still waiting for that opportunity at number 8 and probably would go pretty decently if he was given the chance. We have got the Idouts name and would come in. I think most likely would be another Lucy, if anything. Maybe it's Jean-Luc Dupré.
Can we ask the South African fans who are watching out, how many people you got watching this?
Currently 105.
Right. Am I being crazy by being suspicious that this may happen? Or I bet they love it. I bet they absolutely love the idea of it.
Well,
we put the question out. Do you think there's a chance where Rassie will pull a sneaky tomorrow and someone will get a niggle and then they'll change the lineup and then we'll get a 6-2 split?
Do you think it makes a significant difference, though? Because at the end of the day, New Zealand did name their team first, though.
Yeah.
So at the same time,
but it's absolute gamesmanship, because these guys, we're talking about the best teams in the world, and like a point of a percentage improvement, or how you actually game plan what's actually going to happen within the when who comes on at what stage and game scenario and game playing throughout all those things. It's massive. Like, these guys, they're at the very, very, very tip of strategy and gameplay and understanding the moves and ebbs of a game. And those can only be impacted by the players. And if you change the nature of your bench, it is a huge, especially the amount of emphasis we've put on splits and 6-2 splits, 7-1s, 8-0s, or whatever the South Africans want to do. But I can imagine it happening. Are there any South Africans saying that they could see this happening?
I would say we've had about 10 or so replies, and about 3 said that they won't do it. 7 said it's a possibility or so. So it's a little bit more.
They know him, and I bet they love it. I bet they're like, oh yeah, that'd be great.
But the thing is, it would have to be a back, wouldn't it? So who off that reserves bench are you getting rid of? Are you making Ethan Hooker take the blame for it? Because surely you don't do that to a youngster.
No, I guess so. I've got the lineups here. I'm an old man with
paper.
I'm an old man with my paper.
Do you want me to pop it up on the screen for you, or do you want to read it from your paper?
I'm an old man with the paper. Okay, here we go.
Here you go.
Do you who can cover 10 if you take away Sasha Feinberg and Gomazola?
Kind of Grant Williams, I guess, is about your only real. Villy LaRue actually, he can cover 10, can't he? So that could be an option, maybe, that they do look at. But I don't know. I just don't see him going that far. And maybe that's just the optimism in me and hoping that this test match is going to be built on the respect that we normally see from these two sides. But
I think that he's his own breed. He and I think there would be a massive case for South Africans will argue that it's totally within the rules, and if it's within the rules, it's absolutely fine. And the spirit of the game is an absolute nonsense because it can't be defined. All the talking points that they used when they did their last piece of dishonorable crap would be used again, like from the kickoff. So, and they would argue the shit out of it. But I think he's clever. Like, I'm not saying it's not clever. Like, it would be. But who knows? Who knows? We'll see how it goes. And it's a pick'em. It's a pick'em, and I do not like a pick'em at Eden Park. I really don't. We should just
I'm gonna turn into counselling mode here. Is that what's really the root problem here, Tony? You're a bit nervous about that 50-50. You want it to be a win. You don't want that streak to continue, but
I want that streak to continue in my hometown. Absolutely. My hometown is a fortress, is a absolute graveyard for international teams. We don't live in Wellington. Just a little pot shot at Wellington there. You want it to continue. Like, we've just had so many great players that have come through the Eden Park, played some of their best footy at Eden Park, and that you just want the legacy to continue. Like, so much of the All Black legacy has taken so many hits over the last 5 to 10 years, and this is one of the last things we have, and they're such a good team. And on their day, they've got such great smarts, and they're just so ruthless with what they will do to win that it's a weird one. It's a weird one. It kind of feels a little bit more significant than look at this Bok loving piece of crap. Hey mate, how are you?
All good, all good. How are you?
You're right, champ. You're right. I'm feeling
good
nervous. How are you feeling?
I'm excited. I'm pumped. Honestly,
Man.
pumped for this game. The great thing about this game is that it's the pressure is really on the Boks rather than the All Blacks because they're trying to beat the record. That's how it is. We're the ones that's gonna take this opportunity and just we're gonna go for it. We're gonna go for it.
I've never heard
welcome
more.
into.
I've never heard more claptrap in my entire life. Jeez. What on earth? There's pressure. Yeah, there's definitely pressure on the Boks to win because there's a pressure every time the Springboks play because they have a rabid, expectant public and their performances are wildly criticized by that very, very expectant public, and to be able to take that victory would be a huge feather in their cap. But the pressure of that record is an absolute elephant that weighs on the All Blacks. Like and knowing that this is when they're probably at the most vulnerable they've ever been in the last at least 10 years at Eden Park. That's a giant amount. And then you think about coming off Argentina, like Rassie's record, Razor's record in general, in terms of his lack of ability to be able to create a good amount of cohesion and what has generally been our greatest strength, which is our backline. I think there's giant elephant loads of pressure on the All Blacks. I really do. So I disagree with your comment saying that there's no pressure. What I was trying to say was interesting. I disagree is what I was trying to say.
I'm gonna separate you two before it gets ugly. I'll go in the middle now, But yeah, it's certainly a pressurized situation at Eden Park because you've got both sides who obviously. Well, the thing
that's
is,
what I was going to say, by the way. Yeah.
The pressure is on Scott Robertson because if he gets this wrong,
that's
he can
where the
lose
pressure's on.
the New Zealand public. New Zealand most vulnerable since 1937.
Wow, they really did Robertson's nose bad there.
I know, they really got him.
Oh, we've got the image. Oh no, Johnny, she was talking about Tony there rather than me. You got called. Where is it? Where'd it go? You got called nasty comments, and that you were degrading and disliking the Springboks coach in there as well.
Oh, yeah, you don't want to go after Rassie. I think he's a genius. I really do. But I think he's a dishonorable. I think he will do anything to win. I think he's crafty and he'll rationalize anything that he can do that will give him an advantage, even if it's... I believe in the spirit of the game. And I think that whether you do or not, it is what it is. So it's just an opinion. Don't get too riled up. It's just an opinion. I think he's a bloody genius. I think he's the best coach in the world. How's that?
That's a very high praise coming from yourself, Tony. And yeah, the Eden Park Test match, of course, already for the Springboks lately, they have got a lot of feathers in their cap. Back-to-back world champions. They were able to beat the All Blacks 4 times in a row up till this point. This is a group that have got a huge amount of potential. And even moving into that 2027 World Cup, they do look like one of the odds-on favourites. So, to be able to add Eden Park into the mix as well would be absolutely huge. Tim, I'm going to ask you the question. Backline selections. Who do you feel happier with looking at the backlines here? Are you happier with New Zealand's that has been struggling a little bit, or are you happier with the Boks and the fact that they've pretty much gone with what people were expecting, with the exception maybe of Willie LaRue as the 15?
Well, are you just saying for the Rugby Championship for what we've seen so far, or for what they've selected? Because those are two different answers.
This game right here. Are you happy with the Bok backline?
The here and the now, Tim.
Yes, 100%. 100%. Because, I actually saw the Bok team in terms of the predictions I made. I only had one wrong in terms of what I predicted for that back line because I only had Rassie in instead of Willie LaRue, which And I even said on the thing, I'm more than happy to have Willie LaRue if that's the case. But no, they did exactly what I wanted. They put Caden Moody at the 11. They put Cheslin in his preferred position at 14. Like that's the way you're gonna approach it. I mean, I've seen the All Blacks, of course, have put Amoni Nawa in there at 14 to kind of counteract, I guess, that kind of high ball in a way, which is smart by them. But I just still think that the idea of Caden Moody at 11, that's gonna, I feel like, gonna help him even better actually. And of course, Cheslin will just be able to do what he does in that 14 position. I am intrigued by the bench option of Ethan Hooker, though. I think that's we were talking about him actually, like within our video, and saying, is there a possibility he even gets selected? It's one of those where we were very unsure about even the case, but here he is. He's been selected as the 23. And when you look at it now, it kind of seems, it looks like a pretty good move actually, just because he's able to cover a lot of positions in terms of that center as well as wing if needed. So I understand the reasons for it, but I mean, I've seen a lot of newspapers now or articles talking about, maybe this is the wrong idea of going with a 5-3 split instead of a 6-2, because if they go with one, if one of the forwards gets injured early on, then what can they do? But I just think the Boks are too innovative to like, they'll put like, honestly, at this rate, I wouldn't be surprised if Damien Delende or Jesse Krill can play as a flanker. We don't even know about it yet. So it's like there's ideas which we don't even know about going into this game, which Rassie will probably do, and we're going to find something new. And I wouldn't be surprised, by the way, if he does something new in this game. But in terms of the lineup, in terms of that back line, I think it's honestly it's the best lineup you can go with, I think. I mean, like, I know Willie LaRue is probably the only one you can talk about more if you want.
I think Caden Moody is one of the most talented and physically gifted wingers in the world, but his form is poos at the moment. Like he looks like he's carrying a bit more weight than he was before. He doesn't look as explosive off the mark. He looks a little bit lacking down in confidence. I thought him retaining his spot was a massive show of faith in him. But I'm a big fan of him in general. I think he looks like Israel Folau kind of quality potentially, similar sort of player. But I think he's off the boil at the moment. So I was happy to see him in the team. And I was talking to Hamish before. I'm really happy that you're doing a 5-3 split. Like, that makes me really happy. And there's like that fear of the 6-2 and some of the players you guys have had on the bench before. Like, I'm still very nervous about the game in general. For many reasons, but one of the things I've always been worried about is their bench, and there doesn't seem to be a lot of fear of the Springbok bench at the moment, in my eyes.
See, but the thing is with Kane and Moody, I would still argue that in the aerial challenge, if he's having a good day, he will be able to do better than both wingers out there on the field for New Zealand. Oh, to be fair to him, with the exception of a couple little mistakes, he still managed to win more aerial ball than the whole All Blacks team in the last match up against Australia, and that's a concern for the Kiwis.
We won 0 aerial ball. We were so
bad.
I think they maybe got 2 if they were lucky, but
exactly.
The thing is, I've got a direct quote, ladies and gents, and it is from the Ellis Park Test match last year between New Zealand and South Africa. Okay? It's at 63 minutes and 5 seconds. I see Richard is asking who won the game is tomorrow, Richard. We are still probably sitting around 22 hours away from the kickoff of this contest, but in around 24 hours, if you ask us, we'll be able to tell you exactly who managed to get the win. But the direct quote from Mills Muliaina is, the fact that Caleb Clark is winning the air, the battle of the air, and seldom to see that. When you look at the Springboks, that's been a massive strength of theirs, and they've gone to that the All Blacks, and Caleb Clark has been exceptional. Caleb Clark can win an aerial challenge, but the All Blacks, because he hasn't had enough game time, don't play him in this matchup.
I thought the whole point of getting him out, who did he play last week? Counties or whoever it was?
For Auckland up against Wellington.
Oh, yeah, sorry. And they played at Jerry Collins Park. I thought the whole point was just to get him a little bit of time in the saddle, just to make sure that he was contact ready for the test match. So I was kind of half expecting him to be part of the picture. But yeah, a little bit disappointing that we didn't name him. And the other bloke that I'm really missing on the wings, because I think the wings have been a real point of disappointment and very lackluster in general, has been the lack of Talia. I think Talia is such an X-factor bloke. If you give him half a meter of space, he can make two men look silly and dot it down in the corner. And we've seen him do it so many times and makes the relatively impossible look easy from time to time. But we've really missed him because we've missed that sort of just exceptional world-class finishing talent on the wings. We have definitely not seen that with Sevu and Rico so far in 2025. So yeah, I miss him too.
That's where the tricky part of going to Japan comes in, doesn't it? How as soon as
Still,
you go overseas,
he's still playing. You know,
he may be, but they're looking. Well, the thing is, I was about to say they're looking at the future, but are we when we're selecting the same experience heads every single week in this All Blacks lineup? I do think that Caleb Clark, he played 80 minutes for Auckland. He had the most carries out of any player. He scored a try. He beat 6 defenders. He had 55 metres carried. He made his tackles. That to me is more minutes than what we've seen from some of the guys in the All Black squad who don't get released into the NBC. How many minutes has Quinta Paya had so far throughout this season?
I know what you're trying to say, and I like it, Hamish. You're trying to say it's a Crusaders anti-Blues conspiracy. I'm totally on board for that.
I don't think that's what
by the way, I agree so much with you.
If they were Crusaders boys from Razor's old crew, they'd be in there, 100%.
But then Blackadder would be, wouldn't he? He would have been in the squad if that was the case.
He keeps getting injured. They're not going to choose Black. He's out of the conversation now. But Blackadder, unfortunately, he just injures himself every year. You're not going to choose a player who does that. Like it's
Mr. Glass, they call him on the streets. Easy to break. I think speaking of injured players and players are out, we're not having Roygaard
that's the big one.
The crisis at halfback is massive, but Finlay Christie cops a bit of stick, but can do a job. He can do a job. He was a big part of that. I know you're a Blues fan, Tim. That's the only thing I like about you and your good looks. Is that part of that 2023 super title run that we had? He was a massive part of that. Combining with I don't actually, Bodie wasn't there, but he's combined with
it was Parafetta.
It was Parafetta at the time. Perry Freda. It's hopefully he can do a job. And what's his name? The bloke off the bench,
Kyle Preston.
Preston. You know what what I'm encouraged about him? He got was against the Highlanders in like one of the first games of the year this year. He came in for his debut off the bench and scored 3 tries.
He was awesome. Yeah.
Let's see that again. How's that? Would that be all right? What a debut that would be for the All Blacks against South Africa at Eden Park. 3 tries off the bench.
It would be a better debut than Simon Parker's last week or the week prior.
I wasn't impressed by him. Yeah.
When you? I thought he did all right. He made his tackles.
He did what? Well, this is the thing: is that he did what you're expecting him to do. For a player like what the All Blacks want, the reason why they're bringing him in that position is because he's an enforcer. They want to bring someone who's big in that position, who's the opposite of what Satiti would do, or the opposite of what Sevilla would bring in that position. They're trying. That's why they brought in, and I understand the whole reason behind that. But I wasn't as Shannon Rizal was more impressive when he first came onto the scene than Simon. By the way, he's actually a great player. So maybe he just needs a few run of games, and maybe that will all change in my minds. But it's one of those where for right now, I mean, this is what he's only played 1 or 2 games for the All Blacks, so it's very early on. But I'm just saying he has to definitely have that uptick soon.
Well, I want to ask you the quick question there, Tim, as well. You mentioned about Simon Parker and the fact that, you bring him in for that big enforcing role as a number 8. Why don't they play him off the back of the scrum and give Savia that role instead then? If you're going to try and bring him in as just that battering ram, why does he have to pack down on the side when Savia as a 7 does get that role? What are you doing, finger? Is that the wires, Tony? Is that up the wires? Up the wires.
No, we can try. I think it was you know what? I feel silly, actually. It was a highlight of a previous try. Don't you hate that?
Last I saw, they were losing, someone said, about 14-6.
We're down 4 points. It's 14-10.
Yeah.
Against Manly. Manly aren't going to be playing finals footy, so they got Mad Monday coming up. But it's DC Daly Cherry Evans is great Manly player. His final ever match for them. Would have played over 300 games. Do you give a shit at all about League, the great game?
Is that to
Tim?
me or to Tim?
Yeah, definitely. I'm not really a big league fan, unfortunately. I mean, I've seen a few games, of course, live, but it's just not. It's just not my go-to, unfortunately.
It's fantastic. You just need to be surrounded by it. It's a cracking game. Would you agree? You like a bit of league, don't you, Hainbo?
Yeah, I don't mind a little bit of league. I think that State of Origin's the one that I mainly get up for. But, I don't really support either side. So it's like I can understand that there's a bit of...
Being neutral. You know what pissed me off? I'm still brewing on it. I'm still seething. Absolutely just really writhing in anger. As I asked how he's feeling, and he said, I'm nervous for both teams. What kind of fucking New Zealander in a game against South Africa at Eden Park,
I'm nervous for both.
Protecting a win streak of 50 games is nervous for both teams?
Hey, it's
Hamish. It's disgraceful. You're a disgraceful New Zealander. I'm revoking your citizenship.
I did say that I might get deported if I was.
You should get deported.
I predicted New Zealand to win though by 1 point if that helps. So I was going to go with the box.
Teams. Outrageous.
Oh, you've already made your prediction.
I have. I went 23-22 for New Zealand, but I said it could easily be the other way around.
Yeah, right.
That's fair.
Fantastic. Well done.
He's just absolutely fuming at the moment.
Yeah, you're going to have to remind me, by the way, your question again.
Yeah,
I don't know if there was one.
What do you think's going to happen, Timbo? What's your prediction?
I mean, I think it'll be within the 20s. So I think Hamish is on the right lines there. Again, it's just more if it's low 20s or high, because it's one of those where these games can be tight.
I know. So it's hard to work out whether the All Blacks are going to win by 21 or 28. I know what you're trying to say. It's tricky.
I think if I had to predict, I'm going to say 29-24. 29-24. It's going to be separated by like a try, I think. It's going to be one of those like where
to which team?
Oh, I mean, the Boks, of course, are going to win it, but it's more like it's going to be like a last ditch try, that'll just, and then it's going to be like, I don't know, Finley Christie will give the ball to us, and then Khaleesi will score. That's just how it's going to happen.
See these lines? See these lines? Well, these lines.
Yeah, what are those lines?
Those are the games that we've won or drawn. 2 of them we've drawn.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's been a long time.
How many times you played the Boks there?
5.
Oh, never mind. It's a go.
5 times. And then the other 2 times, that we've played them, we dusted them by 50 because it was there was Women's World Cup and shit going on, and age group World Cups going on. We dusted them by 57-0. You've got 0 chance of them winning that game. So you can there's no chance that that team was ever going to win. And then they got dusted by, what was it, 13 points or something at Mount Smart. You weren't going to win that game either. So I think Auckland, I know, you've won more World Cups. But I think it's 50-50.
I don't even have to bring that. I don't have to bring that. Guys, we don't have to bring that up now. They know. New Zealand knows that. There's no point bringing that up. By the way, I saw this whole thing about on Twitter, like what fans are going to say if they lose the game. Like South Africa will just refer to, we have like 4 World Cups, and then All Blacks like it's the referee's fault, and I'm just like, yep, that's pretty much paints the picture of how it may go in terms of like whoever loses. Like, nope, we still have this. Nope, the referee was. So it's just.
This seems like we're getting into dangerous territory, boys.
Because South Africans are known for like being so reasonable towards referees after games that they don't win.
Settle this one all down.
My gosh.
We'll move on from that. See what you did, Z. You started that. But nonetheless.
Well, it's so reasonable on the referees, the South Africans, after games they lose. But yeah, you don't hear death threats or anything like that. No, it's a pick 'em. Who knows who's going to win it? I think it's just so hard because both teams aren't playing to their best right now. But I agree.
I agree.
I really think that I really hope that this game brings out the best in the All Blacks, and I do hope that it's a great Test match. But I really, really, really hope that we win it. And if we lose, then at the end of the day, I won't be. I've thought about what I'll say afterwards if we lose. I've got my post-match losing thoughts to come out, and it's not that it will be the referee's fault. I don't think that's that much of a. I think it's far more a South African talking point of referees in terms of their losses. I really do. When you go online, it's just like a bombardment of that. But I think my sort of talking point if we lose is, geez Louise, it was a great record. Like what an amazing thing to be able to
no matter what, that's always going to be like the
so. And then if we win, I'm just going to be not in our house, motherfucker. Then it'll be all up. But it's personal, it's primal, it's as good as it gets, really.
I just can't wait for this. Like, I mean, I even said before within our video that like it in a weird way, I was all right with if Australia had one win against the Boks, if that meant that we would be able to win against the All Blacks at Eden Park, I would take it. If that was like the compromise, I would 100% take that, because for me this is the biggest fixture of the year, hands down. It's bigger. It's the biggest one without a doubt. But like you said, both teams are not in the best position at the moment, because that first test that the Boks played against Australia, like we fell apart in that second half, and they capitalized on those kind of the Springboks mistakes really that kind of led to the Australia playing that kind of loose rugby, which they're brilliant at, and they capitalized on them and just scored all those tries. So, and honestly, I was kind of happy for Australia in a way, because they needed that kind of performance to kind of boost themselves up after that kind of Lions tour. So in a weird way, I was very disappointed as a Boks fan. I was like, wow, this is not the performance I was looking for. But at the same time, I was like, fair play to Australia, because they just played a really good game. But then I mean, again, next week they obviously made up for it, and that's what you needed to do. I will say that All Blacks loss to Argentina, I did not see coming. I actually thought the All Blacks would just control it a lot better within that second test. Because also, like, I can understand, because in previous, I mean, I could be wrong in this, but in previous history, the test that Argentina, every time they've played the All Blacks, it's always been the first test they've always won, not the second. So that's why it really shocked me. I was like, wow, okay, the All Blacks, that was a bit of a, But again, they had time to obviously reset now. They're back in New Zealand, and they're definitely going to be a challenge. I mean, no Springbok fan, I'll tell you, is underestimating the All Blacks. They're going to go for this 100%. And I mean, look, I watch the Blues every day at Eden Park, and I can tell you that stadium. I mean, for what it's an awesome stadium, and hopefully someday I'll get to go there again. But it's just one of those where, I think every Springbok there is going to be looking forward towards playing that game. And it's just going to be a big one. It's going to be a really big test. And it's going to go, I'll be very surprised if it's like a wide scoring game in terms of if one side is heavily in the lead or just wins this by a lot. I'll be very surprised, because I just expect both these teams to be really good on the day.
100%, man. 100%. I think the biggest, I was very, very surprised by we seem to pick up these niggly losses to Argentina more often than not. Fucking, pardon my language. And Razor's got a 50-50 lose record to Argentina. No, I don't think any All Black coach has ever had that sort of record against Argentina. But the big concerning thing from me was just the absolute ineptitude of the backline. Our backline just looked like absolute dog's balls. Looked like a team that had just met on the Thursday before the Saturday game, and it was just had no idea how each other played. And that's a big fear as far as how they go. And whether that we can get that cohesion, because we really need our backline to fire 100%, especially against a Springbok team. All right, boys, I'm going to head off soon, but I'm going to give you the All Blacks opponents and how many of which team they've beaten across this 50 test streak. So they've got against Australia. Well, maybe we take a guess. How many wins of these 50 games do you think have been against Australia at Eden Park?
It's got to be 15 to 20, doesn't it? Somewhere around there.
What do you reckon?
Yeah.
Take a pick.
I'll go 17.
I'll go fit. Like, I'll say lower. Maybe I'll say like 12.
20 of them.
20, really?
20 of them.
Wow.
to any of them. Some great. You think about those Gregan Larkham years, that them winning those two World Cup. They won since 1994. They won. They won 99. They were in the final for 2003. They were in the final for 2015. Some great Wallaby teams have been absolutely taken apart there. Not taken apart, but beaten. South Africa. I think I said it before. How many times?
You said what? 5 times?
5.
Yeah.
Yep.
Don't worry, we listen.
Are you England? 5. I'll just tell you. England 5, France 5, Ireland 4, British and Irish Lions 3. I think one of those is a draw. Argentina 2, Scotland 2, Samoa, Wales, Tonga, Canada all 1. That's the 50 games.
So the question is, will it be 51 at the end of this weekend, or is it going to be 50-1 in the last 31 years? But appreciate you coming on, Tony. Of course, you always add a little bit of extra colourful language to the channel. I will say, but
you keep asking me back, and then I'm like, okay,
exactly. Like, what do you expect? It's like
exactly.
Yeah, no, we know what we're going to get, but it is greatly appreciate you popping on. Of course, you and Mark are going to be doing a watch along for this live match tomorrow.
We sure will. Yeah, it's going to be a long night. Where he's coming over. We're going to watch the Springbok game, and then he's going to do his post match at my house. No, the Wallabies Argentina game at 4 o'clock. Yeah. And then I act as the whiteboard after those, and then we're straight into the live stream, and then we're going to do his post match, and then we're going to record 2C GD afterwards. 2 Cents gets distracted after that. We could be absolutely mothered by that stage, and yeah, that'll be it. So we'll see how we go. It's it's going to be a long afternoon, and then it's Father's Day the next day. Then I'm going. The reason we're recording early, the 2 Cents gets distracted because I'm heading to China on Monday. China.
Really?
Yeah. There you go.
Oh, okay.
Well, safe travels, of course.
Thanks, mate.
What are you going to do? You're going to do them distantly when you're in China, or you're just taking the month off for 2 Cents gets distracted?
Oh, the month. I'm only going back on Saturday morning.
Like 5 days.
Yeah.
What are you doing over there for 5 days? You
I'm working.
Walk the wall in that time.
I would love to I'm not traveling. I'm just going. What I'm going to do is I'm going to arrive at the airport. I'm going to jump into, I think they call it a Didi, which is like their Uber. And then I'll get to my accommodation. I'll have a couple of scotches. I'll go to sleep. I'll wake up, go to the thing that I'm meant to be going to for a couple of days, and then I'll fly home. That's the plan. That's exciting, isn't it? Yeah, I would love to travel around, but I don't have the time.
No.
So I'll be back in New Zealand. I'll be back in New Zealand for the next Test match.
That's quite incredible, really, isn't it? How long is the flight to China? Is it like 13 hours? Longer?
Ages. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it's long. It's long. That's why I barely go down to New Zealand or Australia, because it's a long flight to get down there, or vice versa.
No, like for like the ones that really are killer are the ones where you have to fly to China, and then so it's like a 10-12 hour flight, and then you fly when you go to Europe, and then you fly another 10 hours to get to London, and you're just like you're an absolute zombie by the time you arrive.
I do that often.
Yeah. That sucks. That's hard. Well, then if you're flying to somewhere random like freaking Latvia, I went to Latvia once, and I had to fly through China, then to Germany, and then from Germany to Latvia, and I was like traveling for like 77 hours. It sucked.
Jeez.
And then I was only there. Then I was there for 4 days, and had to do it on the way home, and got really bad food poisoning, and terrible.
It's a really awful story there.
Yeah, traveling sucks sometimes. Traveling can really suck.
We got there just before you go, Tony. Someone asked what happens if the Boks go 2-0 in New Zealand. I can tell you what's happening for myself, which is I have said that if the Boks win twice, I'm getting a buzz cut. So I hope that it's 1-1.
Really? Is that even?
Don't look at the hairline. I can see you looking at it.
I am.
It won't look great. I think yours is better than mine, isn't it?
It's a bit thinner on top. Look at that.
Oh, yeah, no, there's
but I am fucking 42, champ. So Well, you're bloody 12 and a half, aren't you? This is disgraceful. You're so young, you count half years. Like, yeah. What is it? Give me one of these. I just showed you mine.
I know. I'll give you one.
Come on.
After.
It's okay.
If it's 2-0, you'll get to see it all in its pride and joy.
All its glory. Yeah.
I reckon you and I, we could take a little cosmetic trip to Hungary. You and I. You know what they do in Hungary, don't they? They.
Well, it's Turkey, isn't it?
I thought.
Oh, it's Turkey. Yeah, right, Turkey. You're right. You're right. Yeah.
We'll just end up in Hungary and learn that we're
just go to Hungary. Why not?
We'll go to Hungary and be like, can someone do something with this? And they're like, no, here's a rug. So yeah, that wouldn't be good. Okay, Turkey. All right.
Someday maybe. Although you've just literally said a terrible story about traveling, so I feel like
traveling's amazing. Yeah. Traveling's amazing. You're going to do a big OE at some stage, Hamish?
Maybe. I don't know where to go though. I'm too indecisive.
Hong Kong.
As you've probably
you're going to come to the Hong Kong Sevens once. We're going to definitely do that once.
Oh, dude, what do you mean you're too indecisive? Just catch a plane ride and just arrive somewhere and live. You've got to get out of Rakaya.
Live.
I know you don't live in. I know it's not Rakaya. Waimate.
There you go. We recently had a 3 now. You seen Guy Williams? He was in our town doing some sort of thing about the water.
Now this is when I know someone's in a really, really bad place in their life. When their bragging point is that Guy Williams visited their small town. That's a low point. No, he's terrific New Zealand comedian. How long was he in Waimate for?
I think it's like a 6-part series, but the locals are all ripping into him on the local discussion group. They're all saying, terrible, don't like the guy, not funny. So it's,
really?
It's quite intriguing, yeah, because he's saying how bad the water is here, and they're all getting quite angry.
What's wrong with the water?
Oh, nitrate levels and whatnot down in the farming areas. It's quite serious, but it's not too bad in the rural kind of township.
You're the Flint, Michigan of New Zealand. Yeah. They got bad water. Okay. On that bombshell. Good to see you, Tim. Good to see you, mate.
Yeah, good to see you, man. Good to see you.
I'm missing your channel.
Yeah, no, I'll just busy with the PhD, unfortunately.
Yeah, congratulations, man. Congratulations with all that. And your channel was fantastic. Brilliant. And if it comes back alive, I'll be all over.
Yeah, I've definitely said just in the future, I've definitely not closed the chapter on YouTube. It's just right now. I just got to focus on this.
Yeah, good boy.
Later on, yeah.
Well done. Good young men, these two. Look at them go. All right, wrap it up. Shit face.
So you're leaving, or are we still going, Tim? Or are you also leaving? I wasn't sure what.
No, I can. No. Yeah, for some reason,
I got 30 minutes really. So
it's very egotistic. Very egotistical of me to assume that you're wrapping up the whole thing because I'm leaving. I can just say goodbye. Great to see you both, lads. Fantastic. And to all your viewers, enjoy the rugby tomorrow. Don't take it too serious. Don't be too much for Tony. And enjoy yourselves. And until later, I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.
There we go. I signed off for him. He also did leave just afterwards, though. We'll go back to this side. There we go. Yeah, intriguing, this matchup, I do feel. We've got another preview that will be taking place in around 6 hours' time, and that is going to be more so the South African time zone. Vic and Vern going to be popping in for that one too.
Yeah.
But it's just a massive game, and there's just a lot of implications online. I feel like we're almost at that stage how everyone's sick of hearing people talk about this match, and they just want to see it happen. In fact, I'll be honest, that's the kind of vibe that we've had this week. It's been, everyone's like, we're ready for the business. We just want to see these two sides go out there. And because they're in such an unpredictable place at the moment, both of these teams, there's just, I don't know what to expect. Are we going to get to see a high-scoring game? Is it going to be low-scoring? Are we going to even see the Springboks go for that stock standard kicking type of style that we saw them beat the All Blacks with last year? Or is it going to be flat out attack and rugby? That bench says maybe a little bit more aggressive than what you'd see in the past. It's a tough one. I don't know who's going to win it. I said the All Blacks, but now I'm thinking, well, if South Africa could get the job done here.
You just don't know. It's 50-50, honestly. It's whenever these games happen, it's just a flip of a coin, honestly, in terms of who will win. But just the thing is that ABs just have that record of 18 par. That's the thing that as a Bok fan, I just really want them to do it here. That's the one. That's the one. They just got to like I could care. Like I'm not saying I don't want them to win in Wellington, but like if they win this one at Eden Park, that's already a tick on the box in terms of the New Zealand tour. So it's just more like they gotta, just gotta do it, man. They just got
Well, the thing is, recent time, decent record in Wellington as well. Having a draw in 2019, having the win.
That's the thing. We've already accomplished, like, in a way, like, we already have that kind of, like you said, a lot of New Zealand fans know that already. Now, let's now go towards Eden Park. Let's portray a different picture here at Eden Park now and what the Springboks can do. But it's just going to be a big game, honestly. It's just a record, man. It's the record because both teams, like, I mean, as I said earlier before, like, both teams have pressure on that front. Like, yes, the All Blacks obviously want to keep that record, but there is pressure on the Boks because they want to try to beat it. They want to be that team to, like, be the first in a while. So it's just, it's going to be big. It is definitely going to be big. And I mean, on your front, like, in terms of, like, if you just like a one-to-watch player from both the forwards and backs for both teams, who would you say is going to stand out, I guess, for both teams in your opinion?
See, for the All Blacks in the 4-pack, the obvious choice is Ardie Savia. It's going to be his 100th game, so of course he's going to go out there and put absolutely everything into the performance. I do think that the front row for New Zealand might, like, don't get me wrong, Savia and that loose forward trio are absolutely crucial, but we've got to remember New Zealand also have to compete at scrum time. Because if they can't and South Africa get one or two advantages, they will just keep on milking that cow dry.
Yeah.
You know, there will be scrum after scrum and there will be penalty advantage after penalty advantage. So for New Zealand, you know, it's hugely significant for their front row to be able to compete in this matchup. But I do think Ardie Savia, if I had to pick a forward for New Zealand, in terms of the backs, you know, Geordie Barrett for me actually is one to just keep a big eye on here, as well as at the same time, Bowden Barrett. I think that the Barrett duo could be extremely key.
Yeah.
And, you know, you're in that scenario where Barrett up against South Africa doesn't do too badly. Yes, there was that World Cup final where Peter Steph did target him, I guess you could say. But outside of that, Barrett, you know, the match that I was looking at in particular, Ellis Park, 91 metres carried, 1 try, 12 carries, 3 defenders beat him, 1 clean break. Like, I feel like if he could do that again here up against Damien Dealindi, then that would put him in a very good position. In terms of the Boks, you know, I think that, honestly, I think Ruan Nokia, the fact that they have backed him in this game, that line-out steal ability with the fact that Holland is not going to be there for New Zealand could bode extremely well. And then in the backs, it's got to be Cheslin, doesn't it? Out on the wing. He will have an absolute field day with Rieko Ioane if Ioane's not willing to go up for that ball. And,
that'll be a great battle, by the way. Great battle.
Well, the thing is, though, and I know that Rico's your favourite player, but it could be very one-sided against him if he isn't willing to engage in that aerial challenge.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Boks will target that, of course. That's like, we're going to target both wingers in terms of the high ball. But that's why I believe, like, in terms of the backs, I think Pollard's going to be the key guy. He's the one that's going to dictate if the Boks win or not this game. It just comes down towards him, I believe, because at the end of the day, the Boks are going to go with that kicking strategy at first, but they'll go for those lineouts and use the rolling ball. I mean, that's what you kind of expect from Boks going into this game. And then for the ABs, they're going to be playing that kind of running style rugby, kind of utilizing Will Jordan, Bowden Barrett. Like, they have these runners that they can just break lines with ease, honestly. So that's the thing that worries me as a Boks fan, is just that kind of perspective of how the All Blacks may play. Because if they go into the way of the Springboks playing, then the Springboks are more likely to win if it's going down towards a closer game, I believe. But if it's if the game's more wide open, then it's going to be in All Blacks' favor because they just know how to play that rugby. They play it time and time again. You see within the Super Rugby competition. So it's gonna be good. I mean, I will say that, like, Will Jordan is probably the one you just got to say in the back line is definitely the key man for the All Blacks, I believe, in terms of he'll be the decider, in my opinion. If he has a good game, the All Blacks should win, I believe, just because he's that good. He is the best 15 in the world. So yeah, it's going to be tough to go against him.
But nonetheless, I think we are almost all finished on this live preview. Something a little bit different to what we have normally done on the channel, but for a game of this magnitude, it just felt right to have some sort of extra build-up. Definitely with the fact that Australia-Argentina finishes so close to the start of New Zealand versus South Africa. But we have got there. We need to watch Rico to see if he actually does anything, which he won't. Says Jordan there. And due to you serious, AB's front stocks has never been so sound. That's what I was saying. They are strong up front. But the last thing that they can afford to do is get onto the wrong side of those scrums early. Like, I actually think New Zealand scrum,
yeah.
You know, they haven't been too bad so far throughout this season. I've actually got the stats here for scrums. At the moment, Australia have 100%. South Africa have 100%. New Zealand, the lowest in the Rugby Championship with 88%. So, like, it's not so much the four-pack in general that is the problem for New Zealand. In fact, I wouldn't even say that their scrums are the problem in general.
Yeah.
But it's just that momentum early on in a game. Who takes that early opportunity better? And I think whoever does that, whoever enforces himself throughout the first 30 minutes, I believe will win this game. Even if there's a bit of a late comeback throughout the last 20 from one of these two sides. Last game it was the Springboks due to a All Blacks yellow card in terms of the first round of the Rugby Championship the sides played. But very intriguing for this contest. But nonetheless, we do thank you all very much for tuning in. Of course, I will be live tomorrow for that live match between New Zealand and South Africa at Eden Park. Going to be an epic clash between the two sides. But if you guys did enjoy, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And I will see you all for the next one.